Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Couples Academy show. My name is Asani, and we're back for part two of a conversation that we began yesterday, talking about the 10 causes of insecurity in relationships. And hopefully, you were able to connect and vibe with what we were talking about because insecurity oftentimes rears its ugly head, and there are many factors involved for why this happens. But before we get started, listen, we want you to like, share, and subscribe. Let the world know that we are here so that we can have a fascinating conversation today. Also, I want to start off by offering you guys up another testimonial. A couple who came through the last chance weekend. They were really in a bad state, went through this process, and I like from time to time for you to hear, the impact that it had on their relationship. And once we see that, we'll get started with today's show.
So my name's Ivan Mello.
And I'm Deyanita, or Deya Caminero Mello.
We're from Rhode Island, originally from New York.
And we came to the last chance weekend to save our marriage. The last couple of days has been a lot of contacts learned, a lot of information thrown in at us, skills, tools, to kind of just help us in our marriage and save us. And it was, long days, but definitely well worth it. Learned a lot, and definitely gave us an insight on what was happening, what our actions kind of came into play, and put us in the position where we are now, where we were, right? And moving forward, how we can, take what we applied and continue to grow and have a successful marriage.
Yeah, just to piggyback off that, it's probably been the toughest 3 days, but the most uplifting, and it's almost like getting baptized in water full of love. I don't know exactly how to say it, but it was an amazing time. I was skeptical. I didn't really believe, but this has by far been the best experience I've had in my life.
Absolutely. We're leaving with a family, with support that we did not have, and that we will definitely cherish and keep with us forever. So we thank the Couples Academy for pretty much reviving our marriage.
Yeah.
Love the testimonials, love the testimony. And I love the fact that after going through such an experience like that, they make a decision to take the next logical step in the journey. And so they are just really avid members of the Moving Forward program. And I'm seeing the growth and the transformation in their lives. And that's the only hope that we have for people, that they take their marriage serious and they make a quantum leap in terms of what they can be, do, and have. And so cheers to them. Listen, we're going to get into today's conversation. We're talking about the 10 causes of insecurities in a relationship. On yesterday, when we began talking about it, we mentioned some of this considerations or some of the contributing factors to a person's low self-esteem. Number one, if you have low self-esteem, period, as a foundational thing, things that you came into the relationship with, low self-worth, low self-value, that's a contributing factor. Then attachment styles, meaning the relationships that you may have had with your parents or your siblings that help shaped not only your personality, but how you connect with people. So if you experience abandonment and betrayal, you may bring that insecurity into an adult relationship. If you were very needy and very clingy and always had to be around, you may bring that into the relationship, and that becomes an attachment style. Then we talked about past relationships. If you've experienced hurts, betrayals, victimizations, whatever it is, they were not healthy. And so what happens is you didn't take the time to heal. So now you're bringing that residue from the past into the relationship. We say this all the time. It's like going to a restaurant to eat a meal, and you sit down at a table and you see a bill that was left by the people who ate before you. And before you can eat your meal, you're forced to pay their bill, right? How unfair would that be? And so oftentimes we put our partners in situations where they're forced to pay for something that they had nothing to do with. And so that can really impact the relationship and create insecurity within that marriage. And so, before we move forward, I really want to give an understanding to each and every one of you of what insecurity is. And so I came across this definition that I think really sums it up quite well. It says, insecurity is uncertainty or anxiety about oneself, a lack of confidence. It's the state of being open to danger or threat. It is a lack of perception. Now, interestingly enough, insecurity exists where? Right here. It's right here. And so it is a feeling that someone has. It's not solely based upon fact, it's based upon feeling. Now, the fact is, things have occurred that may have created that insecurity. But once the facts change, that feeling may still remain. And so the fact is, when I was a child, this happened to me. The fact is, early in our relationship, this happened to me. And prayerfully, the facts or the conditions or the state of the relationship is different. However, the feeling, I'm still trapped in that feeling. And so, therefore, there's things that we have to individually do and things that we have to collectively do to overcome the feeling of insecurity, because if we don't overcome it, it can rob us of what we want to experience in a healthy, harmonious, mutually beneficial relationship. And so that's what we're talking about today, right? So we've been going over some of the contributing factors, and we're going to continue this conversation. And so our next one up is mental health issues. Mental health issues. Now, 9 times out of 10, the health issue that you have, the mental health issue that you're struggling with, was not birthed in your marriage, right? It didn't just come on you once you started your relationship. This is what I mean by we bring things into our relationship. So, for instance, if you're an individual who has in times past struggled with, say, depression or struggled with anxiety, people who suffer from these mental health issues tend to withdraw from their partner, causing a serious strain in a relationship. And oftentimes, they will project on their partner what they internally have not been able to deal with for themselves. That contributes to the insecurity within the relationship. I've had people who have worked with for years who always were stressed, always in fear, always lived in anxiety, had been through therapy for years prior to their marriage. And so once they entered into their marriage, their marriage was always in turmoil. There was always an issue. There was always a situation. There was no peace. And so the spouse is just like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I don't understand it. Can you help explain it? I'm losing my mind. I'm going crazy. And so upon deeper investigation, the same accusations that the spouse had of his wife is the same accusations that that spouse would have for coworkers and for family members. The same way that he dealt with pressure in his marriage is the same way he dealt with pressure in his career and in his childhood and within his home. So the point is, you are the lowest common denominator in every relationship you enter into. And if you've struggled before I do, in terms of knowing how to manage life, you will struggle after I do. You don't go through a metamorphosis. You don't go through a transformation and all of a sudden become someone different. The same person you were before I do, literally, you're the same person unless you are intentional to become somebody better. So those mental health concerns do need attention, and they cannot be resolved in marriage counseling. You understand? This is where that individual growth path is necessary. So a combination of personal healing and relational restoration, the combination of one-on-one counseling and couples counseling, both are necessary. But if you do not do that individual work and think that the problems, the fruit issues, can be solved in a counseling session, but you don't address the root issue, which is the mental health condition, then you will never get beyond where you currently are. And it will continue to be a strain on you and your spouse and your marriage and your family. All right, let's go to the next one. Hopefully, this is helping, guys. The next one is fears over the long term potential of your relationship. Listen, we've been dating for a couple of months, maybe possibly a year, but it is common for people to have doubts about the long-term future of their of their relationship. However, a constant expression of fear over the future of the relationship is very unhealthy. So I don't know what's ahead, but I'm just not sure. I'm just not confident. I believe something's going to happen. And so you become a party pooper. You're a person that always lives in fear and doubt. You fear the unknown. You fear what you cannot control. You fear what you cannot predict. So as I am optimistic and positive and looking forward to a life with you, getting married, having children, having grandchildren, traveling the world, you have such a dim, dark, negative outlook, and it makes the relationship insecure, if you will, because I don't know if we're coming or going. And so your internal doubt and fear is really negatively impacting the relationship. And so this is why it's so important to do that individual work to become the best version of yourself. Listen, guys, we're just getting started. We're going to go to a quick commercial break. Stay right there. We'll be right back. This is the Couples Academy Show.
Welcome to the Couples Academy app. The Couples Academy app is your go-to hub for how to do marriage right. Get started with our app today by perusing our amazing features that conveniently allow you to connect. This app is packed with powerful content and resources to help you grow and stay connected. With this app, you can watch our messages, find marriage resources, watch, listen, and read the real-life stories of restored couples, sign up for events, read articles and blog posts, stay up to date with push notifications, share your favorite messages via Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, or email, and download messages for offline listening. For more information about the Couples Academy app, go to couplesacademy.org.
All right, guys, we're back. You're watching the Couples Academy Show. We're talking about the causes of insecurity in a relationship. I want to go to Popette. She left a comment. She said, insecurities being caused by one's perception of a situation is such an easy excuse for the one who is most likely the reason for the insecurities. Interestingly enough, that's a very valid point, but we're talking about 10 different causes. And so while a spouse may be a cause of one's insecurity, that is not the only cause. And so oftentimes, once again, uh, if that spouse is 100% responsible for another person's insecurity, then both of you still have a role to play in overcoming the insecurity. The one who violated the relationship or whatever he or she may have done that created that insecurity, they have to begin to change their behavior and demonstrate something completely different so that I can believe in who you are now deciding to be. But at the same time, the person who's struggling with the insecurity has a role to play. And the challenge is the one with the insecurity has put 100% responsibility on the other partner to fix their internal insecurity. And it doesn't work like that. Both of you have a role to play. Both of you have heavy lifting to do. Because oftentimes we talk about this, and it's in the book, The Audacity of Marriage. And if you don't have that book, I highly recommend get yourself a copy. There's a chapter entitled How to Heal the Hurt in Your Marriage. And there's a section in that book entitled How to Get Past Your Past. And it states that many times, not all the times, but many times, when the spouse is no longer doing what he or she did to create the insecurity, the other spouse continues to live in that pain. And oftentimes they're living in that pain because they're constantly thinking like they're trapped in that memory of the past. They're trapped in the trauma of that thought. And every time they think it, they're reliving it in their minds. And interestingly enough, the subconscious mind does not perceive fiction from reality. That's why you have to be careful what you consume your mind with, because what happens is the more the mind receives information or images or a repetitive type of messaging, it enters into a state where it just receives. It doesn't reject. Like the conscious mind can reject, but the subconscious mind receives everything as truth. So when I'm living in a painful memory of the past, in my mind, my subconscious mind is giving instructions. We're giving them instructions on how to think, on how to act, on how to respond. And so oftentimes our spouse is no longer hurting us, but we're continually hurting ourselves because we keep thinking about it, meditating on it, vacillating in it. And so what happens is our body begins to own the feeling as normal. And now I don't have to think the thought in order to feel the pain because I've trained and conditioned my body to experience that pain. And so now I'm living in that toxic feeling. I'm living in a toxic temperament, which now causes me to show up to life in a particular way. And so now the fears and concerns and the anxiety that I had that I was pointing towards my spouse, now I'm bringing it into all areas of my life because how I do anything oftentimes is how I do everything. And this is why we say that individual healing work has to be done. Because I remember hearing T.D. Jakes say that for unforgiveness is like cancer. It spreads. It may start off here, but then it winds up here. And we know many people who have been victims of cancer. That's very true. It may start off in your colon, but then before you know it, it's in your lungs. It just travels. And likewise, insecurities, if we don't manage them or overcome them, it may show up in one area of our life, but then it may transition to another area. And so, listen, we're not here minimizing anybody's responsibility in terms of how they contributed to someone's insecurity. They need to own it and they need to do something about it. But the unfair thing is, because it's not fair, the person who's struggling with the insecurity, they have to do something as well. And as long as he or she is waiting for somebody else to save them from their insecurity, as long as they're waiting for somebody else to be their all in all, as long as they're waiting for somebody else to do all the necessary steps and they don't, they've become a slave to that person, a slave to that feeling. And what we want you to do is to become the master of it, not to be enslaved and trapped and imprisoned by it. And so this is where personal responsibility, accountability, support, all these things come into play. And just as we say, it takes a village to raise a child, it takes a community, okay, to keep a marriage intact. Even the Bible says that safety is found in the counsel of many. And so within myself, this is how I think and feel. This is what I think needs to happen. But is that the wisest move? Is that the safest move? Is that the move that will produce the results that I ultimately want? And oftentimes, the things that we ultimately want, we're sabotaging the things that we want because our actions and our behaviors aren't in alignment with the ultimate goal. And so, this is why it's so important. This is why we do this show every single day, that hopefully this daily bread that you're getting will make a difference, that the more you watch it, it'll begin to click. So sometimes there are those things that I may say or the other practitioners may say that may sting a little bit, that may not feel good, that may buck up against a belief or a creed or a value system that you have. But the more you get soaked in it, the more you get saturated in it, the more it will begin to make a difference in your life. All right, we're talking about these 10 insecurities that we find in a relationship. We last ended with what fears over long-term potential. Let's go to the next one. The next one is concerns about misalignment relationship goals. Now, this is huge. Listen, I want 5 kids because I came from a big family, and really, to be honest, 5 isn't enough. I'm compromising. I would have 10 if I could. I will Nick Cannon this thing out and have 12, but with the same woman. Okay, 12 kids. But the other person, they don't even want any kids. They grew up, they were single, they were not single. They were the only child, okay? And they liked it that way. So listen, I'm going to do what I've been through. I want one child. So now one wants 12, right? One wants one. We're not aligned with what we want. You know what? At some point, I've got big goals and big dreams. I want a 10-bedroom mansion and I want to live high up on the hill. It don't take all of that. I don't need all of that. I'm simple minded. I don't mind living in the country. We can live in a ranch. Okay. We can have a couple of animals in our yard. That's all I want. You see how we are not in alignment? Listen, I'm thinking about pursuing something entrepreneurial, right? Because I have that risk taking, a thing in me, and I'm willing to take a calculated risk to do something that can be profitable because I have a higher risk tolerance. Well, I don't know about that. You know what? I'm pretty conservative. I need to have a 9-to-5 job. I don't know about investing our money, and there's no guarantee of a return. So we are not aligned when it comes to that. The list goes on and on. Listen, I want to be a vegan because you know what? Eating meat does not serve you well long term. Listen, I grew up on steak and potatoes, ribs, chitlins, hog maws, pig's feet, all of it. I ain't giving up my meat. See how we're not in alignment. And so oftentimes couples who are not in alignment about things, it can create a insecurity about the sustainability of the relationship. Even the Bible says, can two walk together unless they be in agreement? So the power of agreement and the power of alignment helps to create a security in the relationship that is critically important, that allows you to make quantum leaps. Listen, even when we talk finances, when couples are not aligned financially, it's like putting your emergency brake on. Could you imagine driving down the highway with an emergency brake on? You will destroy your vehicle and it will slow down, come on, the pace of your journey. That when you release the brakes, you can soar. You can go at a rapid pace or rapid speed. And this is what holds so many people back. So the issue may not be we don't have enough money. You may have plenty of money, but you're not in alignment about what to do with the money. I'm a saver. That's what my mama and my daddy taught me. We gonna save. But that's the slow path. I want to invest, right? I want to put money in investments that bring on a different return. Well, no, you could do that with your money. I'm gonna do this with my. See how we're not in alignment, and not being in alignment really negatively impacts how far a couple can grow. We truly believe that marriage is God's secret weapon for kingdom domination in the earth realm. I'm going to say that again. Marriage, the partnership between a man and a woman, okay, is God's secret weapon for kingdom domination in the earth realm. But you can only make impact in this world. You can only advance God's kingdom, of which you become a benefactor of, if you are in alignment, if you are in agreement. And if you're not, there's going to be problems. All right, the next one, we're talking about the causes of insecurities. The next one would be stressful situations. Now, we all deal with stress differently. Some people are like, oh my God. And some people are cool, calm, and collective. And the way that we individually deal with things can create all types of issues in a relationship. Because if you are that person who's over the top and stressed out and everything's a problem, and you're looking at your partner and he or she is cool, calm, and collective, you will make the assumption that they don't care, that if they don't have the emotion that you have, somehow they're disconnected, they're aloof, they don't care. That's not true. But the way that they manage stress is critically different than yours. And maybe there is time to panic, because if the house is on fire, we got to get the kids out and the pets out because we're about to burn up in here. But when it comes to other situations, maybe your stress is way over the top. And if we take more of a calm, easy approach to things, you see what I'm saying? That's the better method to take. And so this is why when couples have, and it's not about personalities, we all have different personalities, but the way in which we handle the pressures of life, okay? Think about it. We going into the supermarket, and we're in the checkout line, and the person who's checking us out maybe forgot to check something else out, and it was left there on the counter. We get home and we realize it's not in the bags, and we are about to lose our mind, like a pandemic just took place. And we're all stressed, and then we're yelling and we're cussing and we're fussing. And our spouse is just like, really? Really? Over a can of beans? You're going to lose your mind over a can of beans? Like, this is, and what happens is it has you thinking, what did I sign up for? There's got to be a better way than this. And because of this, it creates insecurities in the relationship and really impacts people in a tremendous way. All right, people are saying that they're loving the topic and they're loving what we're covering, because this stuff is real, folks. This is real. See, we don't come with these topics that are not relatable. Everything we're talking about, this is why people say, man, it's like you are a fly on our wall, because you're dealing with the very issue that we were just struggling with just on yesterday. So stressful conditions. Let's go to the next one. This is an easy one. Poor communication. How many of you still struggle with communication? That no matter how hard you try, you cannot get on the same page. It's like, yes, we both speak the King's English, but we're walking away with two completely different interpretations and understandings of what just happened, and why is it so hard, and why is it so difficult, and why can other people understand me but you can't? Why is it that when I speak, my messages are received but you struggle to receive them? Why? Well, when you go through counseling with us, or when you go through a last chance weekend or a private marriage intensive, we talk about this thing called iceberg communication. And if you know anything about the Titanic hit an iceberg. Okay, so the captain underestimated the power of this iceberg, and he thought that the ship would not sink. Matter of fact, he said, "This God can't even sink this ship. This ship is unsinkable." He underestimated the problem. He didn't realize that the largest piece of that iceberg was under the sea level. And so what happens is there's so much stuff beneath the surface, so many accumulated unresolved issues, so many like, this is why communication is very difficult. So I can speak to my friend, but I struggle to speak to my spouse. I can talk to a stranger, but I can't even get through 3 minutes of a conversation with my partner before it's World War III. And so a lack of communication really puts a damper on that relationship, and it impacts your ability to feel safe and secure about what you have in that relationship. This is real stuff. We're going to the last one. The last one is huge: dealing with grief. Dealing with grief. Okay, that we can kind of connect this to stressful situations, but this is a little bit different, because guess what, folks? Hardship will come. It will hit your home, whether we're talking about a financial challenges because of a job, whether we're talking about sickness in a family, whether we're talking about the loss of a loved one, and you're grieving what no longer is. And because we all grieve differently, it can cause a couple to become strained. It can cause a separation in the unification of that partnership. And what happens is we've seen, for instance, a couple loses a child. Who would anticipate that? So whether the child was a newborn, whether the child was 12 years old, well, it doesn't even matter. When pressure, okay, when situations hit your home and you go into your own separate corners, your own silos, and you begin to grieve in an unhealthy way, it will have an impact on your marriage, on your family, on your career, on how you live your life. And so we've seen so many people spiral out of control because they did not know how to properly manage their emotions. And so while crisis can serve to bring people together, oftentimes we've seen how crisis has served to pull people further and further and further apart. Okay, where someone becomes shut down, they become disconnected. Sometimes you have people who reach out to others outside of their marriage, okay, for emotional support and security. And before you know, before you know it, one thing leads to another, and now we're in a betrayal, right? We're in an affair situation because we were seeking the right thing from the wrong one. And so if we don't have a plan, if we don't have a mutual understanding on how to deal with loss, how to deal with stressful situations, it could be the very thing that takes us out. Guys, I hope that, man, it seems like these shows go by so fast. I hope that you got something out of today's conversation that will help you in your journey to find security within this marriage. Now, really quick announcement. Today is Thursday. As mentioned last week, tomorrow will be our last episode. We're taking a break for a while. It's not over. It's just over for a small break. We've been going since the pandemic every single day. So sometimes we need time to refresh, to regroup, to bring something new and different to the platform. So we thank you for your support. We want all of you to tune in tomorrow. We want to have an amazing, amazing show. We're probably, because it's the last show for a while, going to do Q&A for an hour. We're going to bring the practitioners on, and we're just going to hit it one by one. So listen, hope you had a great time with me. I want you to watch this video with your spouse. Let it be a healing conversation, not an accusatory conversation. And until then, we'll see you in the morning. Take care.